An early morning Jet 2 flight from Manchester to Rome, followed by an overnight at the Hotel Borgo del Mar in Civitavecchia, and because we're in a Vista suite, we're able to board Sirena from 11 AM and our suite is ready. Our first port of call is Sorrento on the Bay of Naples. Vesuvius appears shrouded in mist first thing in the morning. After coming ashore by tender, the complimentary shuttle bus brings us to Tasso Square. We start our walk down the Corsa Italia and eventually turn into the Old Town. The Lucky 7 wine store, a particular favourite of one of our friends. The temperature is rising to the 30s, so after an ice cream break, we head back on the shuttle and the tender to Sirena for the afternoon. And the haze has cleared somewhat from Vesuvius. Next morning we are at anchor off Giardini Naxos, which is the port for Taormina. We had already decided that we wouldn't go up to Taormina on this occasion, but stay down in Giardini Naxos, which is a seaside resort in its own right. There is Taormina, halfway up the mountainside. We walked into Giardini Naxos, which was very busy, August being the busiest month for holidays in Italy, and Giardini Naxos being a holiday resort particularly for Italian holidaymakers. It was beginning to get even hotter than the day before. We stopped for our traditional mid-morning coffee and then strolled back to our ship. Anchored next to us is Le Bougainville, a very luxurious and brand new French small cruise ship. You can make out the walls of Taormina's Greco-Roman theatre. Next morning finds us en route to Corfu. We aren't due to dock until 11 o'clock, so as we approach the island it's mid-morning. The old fortress was built by the Venetians to protect Corfu from the Ottoman Empire, which it did successfully for 300 years. Corfu town coming into view now. And the new fortress, also initially built by the Venetians, but extended by the British in the early 19th century. There's the pilot boat. Our forward-facing balcony gave us a perfect view of the activities required to moor a cruise ship. We stayed on board for the duration of our stop in Corfu. Our next port is Githion on the Greek mainland. We anchor at noon and we tender ashore early in the afternoon. Octopus tentacles drying in the sun. The harbour area is well provided with cafes, bars, restaurants and hotels, and as usual we stopped off for a coffee. The next port on our schedule is the island of Mykonos, where we arrive at the anchorage at 9 o'clock in the morning. But the wind and the sea are both far too rough for a safe tendering operation, so the captain heads straight for our next port, Kuşadası in Turkey. We arrive just as dawn is breaking. I'm on a ship's tour to Ephesus, which meets at 7:15. Ephesus is only about half an hour's drive from Kuşadası. Kuşadası means bird island in Turkish, and the small island connected by a causeway is called Pigeon Island. We enter Ephesus about 8 a.m. and start our walking tour. We are about to pass through the Hercules Gate, and we now get a first glimpse of the great library, the Fountain of Trajan. And this is the Temple of Hadrian, a Roman public toilet. Opposite Hadrian's temple, covered by protective roofing, are the so-called terrace houses. These were the homes of very wealthy people, built on terraces cut into the hillside. The site has been excavated by archaeologists since the 1960s, and at present 2 large houses dating from the 1st century are on display.
Where a water nymph is sitting on. A nice marble reef pattern over there.
In the course of the guided tour, we have to walk up many steps. Emerging from the terrace houses, we walk down a steep path and come out in front of the great library. This was built in the early 2nd century AD. Next to it is the gate of Mazaeus and Mithridates. This leads through to the commercial agora, which was a marketplace. The great theatre, which could hold 24,000 people, is currently closed for restoration work. Our last view of Ephesus is the Harbour Road. The next day is a sea day. This is a view of the bridge from our balcony. Passing by the island of Zakynthos. Our next port is Dubrovnik in Croatia. Our berth on this occasion is a little further away than usual, under the bridge. We shared a taxi to the old town and were able to start our walk before it got too hot and too crowded. Dubrovnik was a major filming location for the Game of Thrones series, and many of these shops now stock Game of Thrones memorabilia. The Church of St. Blaise was built in 1715. We're walking through now to the old harbour, where we stopped for our coffee break. Heading back now, we pass by Dubrovnik's 18th century cathedral. A quick look at an Orthodox church. This chapel seems to have an olive tree growing out of a pot. The pictures on this building commemorate the damage done during the Civil War. Approaching the gate again, and the city walls are getting quite busy. Back on board, waiting for our late afternoon departure. Our final port will be Venice, where we will disembark. Next morning, the coastline is coming into view. About 10 o'clock, and our pilot is arriving. Approaching the northern entrance to the lagoon. Part of the flood defence system, which is still to be completed. Rounding the tip of Lido Island, Here we take on tugs, which is now mandatory in the Venice Lagoon following the incident with the MSC Opera. The bell towers of St. Mark's on the right and San Giorgio on the left. Santa Maria della Salute in front of us, with the Grand Canal going off to the right. We head into the Giudecca Canal. Some of Venice's old buildings aren't in very good condition. Several large cruise ships in the Stazione Marittime today, where we turned round to come alongside at the San Basilio wharf. It's the historical regatta this weekend, and boats are gathering for their turn. We have a free afternoon in Venice, so we take a short walk, but it's getting very, very hot. After about 20 minutes, we find a very nice ice cream parlour, and we stop for a while to cool ourselves down before we head back to our ship.